Today on Power Your Profits, we're thrilled to have a trailblazer in business transformation, Nancy Ridge. As the founder of Ridge Innovation and profitable ecosystem strategist, Nancy has mastered the art of driving scalable, profitable growth by harnessing the power of strategic alliance and technology. With a wealth of experience in change management, team selling, and leadership, Nancy has helped countless businesses achieve their biggest outcomes, from leading sales companies that made it to the Fortune 500 list to mentoring future women leaders. Nancy is a force of innovation and empowerment. Get ready to be inspired by her expertise on optimizing spend, building powerful partnerships, and leveraging core competencies to fuel your business success.
Welcome to Power Your Profits podcast, your friendly guide in bringing your business revenue to the next level. Listen as host Dr. Susie Carder hears inspiring stories of success from her fellow entrepreneurs and transformational leaders. Prepare to make significant change to your strategies as they unravel the secrets of building multi-million-dollar businesses and the most effective tips on finance, marketing, and sales accountability. If you want to take your first steps towards explosive business growth, this podcast is for you. Without further ado, here is your host, Dr. Susie.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Nancy, for being here. You have built your career around leveraging ecosystems and strategic partnerships for growth. What's the secret sauce in building that ecosystem, not only that thrives, but propels businesses to that next level?
Well, there are many elements to building a successful ecosystem and working with partners, but I always say that trust is the secret sauce. It really starts with trust, because that is, and today I would call it the new oil. It makes everything work. And with trust as our foundation, which of course has to be earned and built. So that begins with relationships. And I know that's something that you really strongly support as well. That good business starts with great relationships. And so building those relationships and finding out where is that intersection of value that we have together that is going to serve our customer, that's going to serve your customer. So the other part of it is really just always keeping the customer at the center.
Yes. Well, I think it's important. You talk a lot about game-changing technology, not just technology, right? And so you use it as a tool for growth. Can you give us an example? Because I find some entrepreneurs shy away from it. They don't dive into it, right? They're like, oh, they've been using what they've been using, versus what are some examples that can really help us drive a scalable, because I think that's important, and profitable growth using cutting-edge tools?
Well, in the partnering and alliance world, we've seen technology really come a long way in the last 3 to 4 years. And honestly, as your listeners they don't know, but I think I'm a little bit of a tech geek.
Yeah.
So my background is almost 30 years in technology. So I've gotten to see how it's been evolving and how it's really impacted the way we do business. And there's a couple of game changers that have really come to the fore in the last couple of years. And of course, we can't talk about anything without bringing AI into the conversation nowadays, right? So AI is a part of what's driving some of this. And one of them that I am really enthusiastic about is a platform that allows you to find your ideal customers. Your ideal partners, because that has been one of the challenges for companies who want to go to market through partners, which, by the way, I just want to quickly, throw a stat out for your listeners.
Yes, we love stats.
Yes, 70% of all world trade is now delivered through or with a partner. So if you aren't thinking about partnering today, then it's important to think about it, or even just to look at the people that are surrounding you or surrounding your customer and recognize, hey, maybe that is a partner of mine. You don't have to be giving them a discount on your product to resell it or paying them a commission for them to be a partner today. You can have partners who are just influencers on your behalf. So going back to the other question about the technology, if you really are looking to build a go-to-market strategy where there are partners who are providing some other product or service to your ideal customer, then you want to really have a profile. I almost call it like a police sketch, right?
Yes.
So let's identify, what does that partner look like? And now there's technology and AI to help you do that. So this particular platform allows you to really make that police sketch with literally hundreds of data points if you want to go granular. But you can get in there and say, where do the partners need to be? What geography? Where are they bringing value to customers? What size are they? What type of customers do they call on? What vertical? What revenue level? How many employees? All of those data points and then some. And you build this whole picture of what that ideal partner would look like. And then the platform goes out and it finds those companies who match your
Mhm.
description. In the
Yeah.
past, we used to have to employ much more time-intensive ways that were almost like a shotgun approach, like going
Yeah.
to a trade show and standing there and hoping that whoever walks up to your booth is going to be a fit for you,
Yes.
or doing a direct mail campaign, or even an email campaign, or even inbound marketing to try to attract. Those things aren't without value, but if you really want to get to the partners right away and build a successful program, then this is one of the tools that'll help you do it.
And what's the name of that tool?
It's called Partner Optimizer. And
Uh,
the founder is another incredible female CEO. Her name's Dina Moskowitz, and she's based in San Diego. And this tool has been evolving over the last several years, and it just gets better and better all the time.
that's exciting,
Yeah,
right?
through the machine learning. And I have one more.
Yes.
And Susie, I get really excited about this stuff. So
We
that's
get excited too that you've done all the research and done all the due diligence and go, it works. Okay, good. That's
that's
me.
the geek in
Just,
me a
I'm
little
like the
bit,
little
right?
Xerox machine. Just tell me, Nancy, what I need to do, and then I'll do it.
Exactly. Let's do it together.
Yeah.
Let's partner. So another one I love is a company called Crossbeam, and their founder, Bob Moore, he's based originally in Philadelphia. And this is brilliant technology because what it allows you to do, and now you do need to be a little bit of a larger company. So for this to work, you need to have either a customer relationship management tool that you're using, some sort of a CRM, or at least spreadsheets that have lists of who your clients are and the contacts and
Yes.
some of the basic information. So what we found is when companies come together and they want to partner and go to market and maybe even co-sell, like let's sell arm in arm because we've got a solution that
Yes.
together is better than by itself,
Yes.
then this crossbeam technology allows you, it acts like an escrow. So it allows you to take your data, which is oftentimes sensitive data because these are your customers and your prospects, right? And
Yes.
upload that data into this database, and then they take the data and they basically map it. So we call it account mapping, and it lets you find out which clients you have in common or which prospects you're going after together. So you can hone in on those right away. Because after all, if you start to work with somebody in a partnering role, the first thing you want to talk about is who are your customers, right?
Right.
Where's an opportunity for us to go in together? Well, this does all of that in an automated fashion, and you can release more and more data as you feel more comfortable, and that trust that we talked about is built up. So when you feel comfortable enough, you can release the names of your contacts to your
Yeah.
partner, and other, details.
I
So
love
those are
that.
two.
Well, I know that my clients, and I've experienced this as well, like we struggle with partnerships that don't pan out. Like I'm putting 10 units of energy in, doing the work, right? And they have a more passive partnership. What are the key elements of a strategic alliance that really drives real measurable results, right? Because that's what I'm about is I don't care about the task. I want to know what's the result. So what are some key
Exactly.
elements of the strategic alliance that drives that?
Well, that's a great question, by the way, and I'm so glad you
Thank you.
asked because I'm always trying to put this information forth when I first meet with people. First of all, ad hoc partnerships fail 80% of the time.
Mhm.
We've measured this. And
Yeah,
so, you have to apply a management discipline to the relationship. And once you do that, then it's conversely 80% succeed. So what does a management discipline look like? It looks like, first of all, taking the time to compare, like, who is your ideal customer? What is your ideal customer profile? How does that match mine?
yeah,
You want to determine, do they have the resources? There's some things you need to know about each other as companies. Is it okay if it's just a small, like maybe just driven by the leaders of the organizations, the two owners, let's say in particular, who are making a commitment, or do they have actual teams that you can work with, salespeople, marketing people, who are on the teams, and let's get them engaged too, so that you've created a joint value proposition together that now everybody can get behind. The
yeah.
internal support is just as important as what you're doing on the external side. And I would say one more thing, that it is helpful to have some sort of a structure in place, a business plan where and I know you'll love this,
Yeah.
Susie, because you're all about KPIs and metrics. So let's set some actual numbers and some intentions that we're going to have to meet those numbers, whether it's events or quarterly check-ins. Maybe in the beginning you're checking in monthly to see how it's going, and then you go quarterly. So you really need to create those business plans and metrics on the front end, and then stay in communication together as you go forward and iterate where you need to.
Right. I love that. And you are speaking my language, right? Give me a spreadsheet, give me a tool, and I'm your girl. That's my love
You bet.
language.
It
So
feels
you
so good when you can have a metric that you can see.
right, it worked,
Oh,
it didn't work, right? It allows us to get out of the emotion, right? I love it. So you've led successful sales programs, and highly ranked on the Inc. 500 list. What are your 3 top strategies that every business owner needs to implement to see that rapid growth from your
well,
perspective,
you
right?
just talked about one of them. I'm a big believer in the power of intention. So every business owner should have a why for their business and be very clear about what the why is. And from there, that why allows us to create the intentions that support having a result, that aligns with that reason for being. And then once we have those intentions, we need to declare them and write them down. And that's where the business plan comes in,
Yeah,
and some sort of accountability, because that's where accountability exists. And without accountability, I don't see businesses succeeding. Every
right.
business that I've been involved in, or whether it's my own or coaching leaders of businesses, there is very strong intention that's declared, and there's accountability attached to it.
What I love is you talk about the business plan being the intentionality, right? Now
Mhm.
I've been doing business plans for years, and I'm an advocate, but
Yeah.
it's a slight difference in the conversation versus this task, this heavy or do a business plan versus we're just setting our intention, right? That seems much more light versus, and it's still the same, but so different. So thank you for that distinction. That's
Okay.
huge.
You're listening to another episode of Power Your Profits podcast. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Are you tired of struggling to take your business to the next level? Power Your Profits is the game-changing book you've been waiting for. Dr. Susie Carder, creator of the Predictable Success Method, reveals her proven strategies for explosive growth. From daily operations to marketing systems, this comprehensive guide empowers you to achieve predictable revenue and profit growth. Don't miss out on this invaluable wisdom. Transform your business today. Find your copy at books.poweryourprofits.com. Overwhelmed by the complexity of business profit strategies? Jump aboard the Bullet Train to Big Profits course, a streamlined solution by Dr. Susie Carder. This course is designed to uncomplicate the path to profitability. Imagine being able to identify and execute profit strategies with ease, skyrocketing your revenues. Visit course.poweryourprofits.com and sign up for the Bullet Train to Big Profits course today.
So let's talk about navigating change, because you, my friend, are a change expert in change management, which is the real challenge for businesses, right? I see it over and over. They don't like change. What's your advice for companies facing major transition? Because I think our country's in the major transition, right? Because that's stopping us, that mental conversation that we're all having in our head, right? What is your advice? And then how can we ensure the team embraces change? Right. I have a big account that I'm working with, and one of our biggest challenges is we're teaching all these new skill sets, and the team is like, it's just too much, and they're overwhelmed, which it's not. It's just a new skill set.
Right.
And so managing that conversation can be a bit much, honestly, from my standpoint.
Oh my gosh. It is. I relate to that very much so. I'm working with an organization myself right now that's undergoing tremendous change. And I believe that it starts at the top, that it is critical for the leader, the CEO, or whoever is the leader of the organization, to create a culture where it's recognized, first of all, that you are going through change, that we're not pretending that it's business as usual, or, oh, we're just adding this one little thing.
Right.
No, I think it's really important for the leaders at the top to recognize that. To me, that's an expression of empathy in addition to being practical, it goes back to the declaration that says, hey, we're embarking on some big changes here, and making those promises that there's going to be a sensitivity to the process for people. And communication is so important, to create channels of communication. And again, that's where my love of technology comes in once more, because we now have so many tools that we can use to better communicate with each other. There's really no excuse for companies to not be able to inform their employees of things that are happening or initiatives that are coming up. There's so many ways to do it.
Yeah, when I do like a needs analysis with a new company, 90% of the time, the first challenge is lack of communication in a culture. How can this be possible in this day and age? So I agree with you. And it's all industries. It's not one industry. I see it in all industries. And usually the CEO is so frustrated, but they're not leveraging with the different age generation. I think that's is each generation has their own way of communicating. And so what's the bulk of that? What's the bulk of your team? And what do we need to do? Like, I need to change ongoingly because my workforce is younger, right? I'm a little more seasoned. Let me just be honest.
I relate to that too.
And not bad. Like, all that experience is great. But if I'm not shifting with the environment, with the culture, with the age and my demographic of my, customer, which is my team member, like, I'm just, dead in the sand, so to speak.
Well, you hit on so many good points there. One of which is we do have a lot of change going on, even with that intergenerational diversity that we're experiencing, and how that impacts the willingness of people to embrace technology. And one of the things that I love that can be fostered and created, again, at the top by leadership, is for reverse mentoring. I am a very big advocate for mentorship.
Yes.
And I think as you're working with some of these diverse age groups, mentoring is very important for the seasoned members of the team to take that traditional role to where they can really have those proteges and help them understand, here's what we've learned over the years that works. These are fundamental principles that are still valid. And at the same time, if you've got, people who haven't used all of these brand new tools, and yet you've got the younger digital natives who are on the team, it's great to have them, take that other person by the hand and say, hey, this is
Let me
actually
show you.
easy to
Yeah.
use. Let me show you how, and put some play into it. We can play a little
Yes.
bit. We got to do
Have
that.
fun.
Yes, yes. And the other thing too with change management that I find is important, and one of the practices I suggest is to use tools to raise self-awareness. I think one of the biggest places where we stumble, in fact, there's studies that have been done that say only 10% of the workforce is self-aware.
Oh,
10%. And 73% feel misunderstood at work. So how do we raise that self-awareness? Well, once again, I bring technology into the table,
yeah.
and I work with a product called Deeper Signals, which is an excellent scientific method of gauging what are your core drivers and what are your core values. And when we are under stress as people, which is what change does to most people, it creates stress and anxiety, takes them out of their comfort zone, right? That's a
Yeah.
human condition. Then what happens is some of those core drivers get what I call over-rotated, right?
Right.
So now all of a sudden there's risk in your relationships and your communication, all that stuff. So understanding that about ourselves can help us self-manage in a way so that we're a more productive and positive contributing part of a changing environment.
Yes. Yeah, I don't hire anyone or work with anyone unless we have something similar, same, but different, right? Because to me, it's the DNA of how to work with that person in a
Mhm.
way that supports both of us. So that I
Yeah,
don't come in like the hammer, because I can be the hammer, right?
right.
And I think that's old school leadership, right? To go, okay, I
Mhm.
can't just hammer everybody. My hammer might be pink and have fuzzy on it and sparkles, but it's still a hammer.
I love it. Exactly. What do they say that the iron fist and the velvet glove?
Exactly. That's the generation we grew up with. Suck it
It's
up,
so
cupcake.
true.
Just do it. It's like that doesn't work anymore.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
I
No.
love it. So you are the co-founder of the Alliance of Channel of Women. And so what's your take on how businesses can better support women rising into leadership roles?
It's we're in a sketchy time with that right now,
Yeah,
Dr. Susie. I mean, we're seeing many companies eliminating their DEI programs altogether or taking funding away, from those types of programs. I really, and we're still confronting a lot of the same struggles that we were confronting back in 2011 when I started ACW.
right.
And that's the pay inequity, that's still
Yeah,
there. And also really just the lopsidedness of women in leadership roles. So when I'm working with, I sat with a C-level gentleman yesterday. I was at a conference and he was asking those questions too. And
yeah,
part of it was really just looking at how we can leverage the diversity that women bring to an organization, make it comfortable for them and welcoming for them to contribute and be a part of those leadership teams. And it's funny because it can be subtle in a lot of ways.
yeah,
Even just conversations that people are having. If everything's, a football analogy and the majority of your women are not identifying with that,
right.
then they're going to feel excluded. They're not going to feel a part of. So having that again, empathy to make sure that the women within your organization are feeling supported and embraced so that they can stand up and speak out, and what they need to do. And obviously offering those same opportunities at the same pay level, that's still so important. I mean,
Right.
we want to act like that's handled, but it's not handled.
Yes. It's not, right? We've come far, but not far enough.
Mm-mm.
In every culture, we say that. So I think it's important that you often talk about the cycle of core competencies right? Walk us through what that means in business, because I think this goes hand in hand with that previous conversation. And then how do we build that competitive edge? Instead of, I think sometimes we put everybody in the same box versus looking at what is Nancy amazing at? I mean, me as a coach right now, I feel like Nancy's coaching me. I'm asking questions, and this is my own little, like, what's happening in my business. So that every guest, I'm kind of getting the gems. I have 3.5 pages of notes already. So I'm looking down, y'all, but I want you to know that's because I'm taking notes because it's such a juicy conversation. So what
Yeah.
does it mean for businesses and how do we build that competitive edge?
Well, again, I really feel like building that competitive edge comes from a couple of different key areas that we're looking at right now. And one of them is how profitability and how value for businesses is being judged today. And we're coming out of a cycle where there was so much focus on top line revenue growth.
Yes.
Private equity and all of the investment community out there was really focused on that top line revenue growth. And if you had a propensity for that, then you were going to get the funding that you needed. And even for, the small or medium-sized business that was seeking the funding, those sources were looking for projections of revenue growth. But today, that has changed. I mean, what we're seeing now is that there is much more focus on really profitable growth, long-term
Yeah.
capital efficient growth. And that is the key to unlocking that long-term success economically. And so I go back to the value of partnering. If 70% of all business or trade is now done through partners, or indirectly, let's say, and 90% of that is through partners, then how do you build a successful partner program? And that's where some of the core competencies come in that I speak about. And in particular, it starts with something we've been talking about here, which is assessment. And it's
Yeah.
not just assessment of the leadership and the individuals, which that of course is extremely important because companies are people, right? But it's
Right.
also the assessment to look at how partner ready is your business. So that's part of that core competency cycle that Ridge brings to the table is to be able to assess, are you even ready to partner? Do you have the structures in place to do that? And if
Yeah.
they don't, then the next thing that we delve into is what are the strategies and frameworks. So that may be something along the lines of that partner optimizer example I mentioned later, to look at who's your ideal customer profile, what's your ideal partner profile. How do we find those people? How do we create the frameworks? If we decide that we now know who we'd like to partner with. So I'll give you a quick example.
Yeah.
One of my clients is a software company, and there's so many SaaS companies nowadays. I'm sure you've got many SaaS companies even listening to us today
Yes.
because it's a huge growing industry. And their particular product is around document handling and document signing. So the company's name is Lumen. And so think of it like DocuSign or, one of those types of things.
Yeah.
So most companies, including smaller business right now, are really in the throes of digital transformation. We're
Yes.
all trying to find ways to automate many of those repetitive tasks and things that we don't need to put valuable employees on to do. So with them, we said, all right, so who are the companies that are attached to the customers, the SMBs that you want to work with, who are involved in their digital transformation in some way? And there were lots of different companies that do that kind of work. So we help them identify those. And then the next thing is when you go to recruit those partners, you got to be ready. Like we said, ad hoc doesn't work.
Right.
So you need to have the right message to share with them that's tailored to what they do. So you're not just coming in with a sales pitch, you're coming in with a joint value proposition
Yeah.
conversation. And then you have to be ready to teach them about what it is that you do, training, onboarding, is so important. We know that if there's a great onboarding program, and this fits for your partners, by the way, and your employees,
Right.
if you have a great onboarding program, your propensity for success shoots up in the 85 to 88% range. It's immediately effective.
Yes. Juicy, juicy,
Yep, yep,
juicy,
yep.
Nancy. I love it. So you've mentored women, girls in your community for years, right? So thank you for doing that. Thank you for being the advocate for us, right? What's been the most rewarding part of your journey?
Wow. Seeing the success
Mhm.
of the people that I've gotten to come alongside, and I don't always get to see it,
Yeah,
right? So when I have been able to witness that, it is just an incomparable feeling. It's like, wow. And it's also extremely humbling because the bottom line is really we're just enabling or unlocking in most instances
yeah,
what's already there.
right.
And when you see that gem, when that diamond is polished and, it's now shining brightly for all to see and they're starting to really reap the rewards of that. And sometimes it's after a lot of conflict too.
Yeah,
We don't gain success without some of that.
yeah,
That's where I just get so excited and so happy. Like with ACW, one of the things that I'm really thrilled about now, our current president, we rotate the president role every 2 years, and our current president is the first woman of color in that role.
that's awesome.
And she also is someone that came into the technology channel like 6 years ago, I want to say, and I was her first mentor.
Mm,
So I got to introduce her to all the other ladies, bring her to her first ACW event. And now here she is just killing it with her career. And
right.
she's president of the group and she's bringing that whole new perspective as a woman of color to ACW. So
I
that
love
that makes me feel amazingly happy.
I love that. So Nancy, what's one question you wish I would have asked you?
Um, hmm.
Could be nothing, could be something. I don't know.
Maybe, one of the questions I was kind of anticipating is that you might ask me about ecosystems and what they are, because I talk about ecosystems a lot, and yet most people don't really know what that means. I mean, we know it as a ecological metaphor,
Yeah,
right? I go to the beach and I look in the tide pool and I see the ecosystem there. But
yeah,
a business ecosystem is really one of the fastest growing trends. McKinsey
yeah.
says that ecosystems will account for $100 trillion by 2030. So,
That's
and
a lot.
that is huge. And pretty much every CEO is looking into this right now. But it's not, ecosystem is not something that's exclusive to the Fortune 1000. We're
Right.
all involved in it. So the Drucker School of Management defines a business ecosystem as an interdependent value creation network. And it reaches beyond the individual boundaries to include everybody who plays a role in the creation or delivery of a company's product and services.
I love that. Such a juicy conversation, Nancy.
Thank you.
What a blessing. I literally have, just so you know, when I'm looking down, I have 4 pages of notes, just in the conversation, because it stimulates so many other conversations that's happening in business right now. That means you walk your talk, right? There's so many people that say they do things, but when you can really dive deep and make real life examples, it makes the conversation so much juicier. So it's been an incredible conversation with Nancy
Thank
today.
you.
We've covered so much ground, from undeniable power of building ecosystems, strategic partnerships, the art of optimizing and spending and leveraging core competencies, as well as some new AI tools that we can use, your insights using technology as a driver for business success, and hands-on experience leading and thriving sales program has given us actionable strategies. I've got 4 pages of notes, but continuous learning and empowering business through innovation, education, and empowerment. Thank you, Nancy, for sharing your wisdom and inspiring us, for pushing our boundaries, building our alliances, and creating culture of success. I know you know someone that when you're listening to this, you're thinking of them going, oh, this person needs to hear Nancy. Oh, this person needs to hear this podcast. So you share it with your list, share it on your social media, share it. Somebody needs it, right? To go, oh, I need this conversation, because as we evolve as businesses, we need new tools, we need new technology, and there's so much out there that we've got to hire experts like Nancy, to come in to help us leverage the wisdom that she has, along with the leverage of the wisdom that you have. So Nancy, thank you. Until next time, let's keep powering our profits and making big moves, bold moves. Follow Nancy on all her social channels. Reach out if you're serious about really leveraging this. And I love just the way we look at partnerships. And it's been a joy and a blessing. And I feel honored that you're here and you spent your valuable time with us. You cut Nancy's head off. I promise you there's jewels here.
Thank you, Dr. Susie, so much for having me. You are an inspiration and you're doing amazing work helping people claim that wealth that is available to them. It is a blessing as well.
Yes, thank you
so much.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Power Your Profits podcast. Let these building blocks from today's most successful industry leaders equip you with the necessary resources and tools to finally establish the highly profitable business of your dreams. Want to hear more? Listen to more episodes at www.poweryourprofitspodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. Now is your time to rise to the top of your game. So be sure to catch our next episode. Until next time.